of course, while there is so much happening on the news cycle, I'm sure you've also seen Twitter streets, in fact, have been abuzz with so much. A day like today has seen so many stories trending. We've seen the hashtag Senzomeiwa murder trial. We've seen so much Advocate Defo. There's a lot to talk about. And Ayanda Sishi Wigzell, who's a freelance journalist and political commentator, is back just to talk about what has been going on. Ayanda, sometimes you look at the trends and a second it has just changed because there's just so much to talk about. Let's start with, Jaco Fontaine. That is one story that really broke the hearts of many people given the devastation. What has been said on social media?
Social media, firstly, good evening to everybody and good evening to the SABC viewers as well. Social media has been abuzz with what has been happening with Jaco Fontaine. People are extremely upset. They are confused. And what we've been seeing is that there have been questions about who exactly is responsible for the damage that has happened in Jaco Fontaine. So we know that there's a company that is responsible for the dam in making sure that the dam tailings are up to standard and they are safe. But the people of Jaco Fontaine have been saying for years that this dam is actually a problem and is going to cause a problem for them, and look at what has happened. We've seen the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy absolving responsibility, as well as the Department of Water and Sanitation also washing its hands of responsibility, which then leaves the people to ask the question, who is actually providing oversight over making sure that people in these towns are safe? We must understand that mining is incredibly water-intensive procedure, and this is why the Jaco Fontaine Dam exists in the first place. It was there to service the mine that used to be there. It has since been decommissioned in 1971, but the mine dam is still there. And the question that needs to be asked is, who is responsible for making sure that the people who still remain in these towns after the minerals and resources have been extracted and the profit has left the town? There are people who still need to carry on their lives there in that space. And what is going to happen? There are 300 people right now who are homeless, who are destitute and have nothing. The damage is just insurmountable, and people are just washing their hands of responsibility.
One gets a sense, even when speaking to the lawyers yesterday, just how much for them this continues to be a big headache to know who they need to be drawing up summonses against. But another story that has left us with many questions has been the Senzomeiwa murder trial. We saw Dumelo, and I'd like us to listen to some of what he had to say and talk about it on, just how social media received this one.
Yes, this man with the blue t-shirt or green t-shirt. He's the one that was held by Senzo. Sorry? He's the one who had the cut beard that was cut or shaved.
So, of course, social media did respond to this. What we saw was Dumelo Madlala identifying one of the accused, I think it was accused number 2, as being the person who was holding Senzomeiwa down in the scuffle that eventually led to his death. And social media is questioning, there are two halves to this. There are some who are questioning how is it that these 4 accused did not end up in the identity parade that was meant to be conducted by the police. But on the other hand, people are saying that he was the witness in the house, and he is pointing out to the fact that this is the person that he believes was there that night that he was attacked. The only people who know what happened in the death of Senzomeiwa are the people who were in that house. And so we need to make sure that the questioning and the police investigation is thorough. But right now what we are seeing is that there are holes in the story, and the defense has come out and said that the witness, they've accused the witness of actually accepting money to testify. And Madlala is saying that no, this was not the case. He has accepted money, but this was money for photography and also to appear in the Netflix documentary, but not to actually testify in this case.
So at the same time, while we talk about Dumelo, there was also that moment when the media came under fire, because of how they dealt with him as a witness when he was coming into court.
Absolutely. We dropped the ball there. We lost the plot completely. There are rules and ethics, especially that are highlighted in the press code, that specifically there are rules that specifically govern how journalists are meant to report, especially in courtrooms. We need to understand that there is a family here that is grieving. There are 4 accused who have other family members as well who are in distress, and there are children who have lost a father. We need to not lose sight of that, especially because we are practitioners in the media. That needs to be at the forefront when we are reporting anywhere, but most importantly, in a case like this that is of public interest. We need to make sure that the public trusts us. And part of that is making sure that we act accordingly in these spaces. And this week, we definitely dropped the ball.
The stop-start, that was Zweli Mkhize in that address that we saw at some point, a generator's going off and then a car is lighting the whole. What was social media saying there? Because as much as he said quite a lot afterwards, but there was still some of the gimmicks that
he said quite a bit, you know, alluding to the fact that he is saying that politicians are using the law in order to make sure that people do not ascend to leadership in the African National Congress. But people are also saying that he's a little bit on the outside, which is why all of these events are happening. We're trying our best to take it seriously, you know, but at the end of the day, he's an African National member, an African National Congress member and an NEC member as well, and he needs to adhere to the rules. And if the rules say that you cannot ascend because you have been, you know, in some sort of corrupt dealings or you're still going through those processes, then he needs to respect them at the same time. But social media really was questioning where is it that he fits now that he is outside of cabinets and he is out and he's back in KZN. And now the leadership race has started and December is nearing right now. It's nearing and everybody is picking up their hand and saying that, yes, I'm available for leadership. But now the question is, will he actually emerge? Because we have Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma, who's also put her hat in the ring. And now it's the question of, will we convince the branches, as the secretary of the African National Congress in KZN said, that this decision lies with the branches. So the branches are going to be the ones that decide.
And I can't help but think back to that moment when the now suspended Secretary General was saying it's only 5 years, comrade, so you can only imagine what's going to happen in December. But let's talk about, you know, the Palapa Panel. There's been quite a lot of talk here. Some not happy about Professor Richard Calland.
Yes. So Palapa, as we all know, what happened on the farm of the president's of the country, Cyril Ramaphosa, there was foreign currency that was found that was stolen underneath his mattress, allegedly. So now there's been a 17-person group that has been appointed by the Speaker of Parliament in order to assess whether or not the evidence that has been brought forth will be enough in order to move forward with the Section 89 inquiry into the impeachment of the president. This panel also includes retired Gauteng High Court Judge, Thokozile Masipa, as well as Richard Calland. And people have a problem with UCT lecturer Richard Calland because he is also a public commentator. He has written articles and he's also in the public law and interest space. So people are saying that because of his commentary, he will not be impartial to the evidence that is brought forth before him. Many people were on different camps about this. People on social media were saying that because he is a political expert, his expertise should be on this panel. But I am of the mind, and along with other people, that if his being on that panel is going to taint the results that come afterwards, then he should step aside and allow for somebody else to come into that space.
If we were talking tomorrow, it would have been interesting to see what people are saying about the Reed dance, but let's leave it there for now. Thank you so much for coming in. Do appreciate it. That is, of course, Ayanda Sishi Wigzell, and she's always joining us for the trends, and it's always interesting to see and hear what some of you have to say about the trending story.